put on clothes, but I've not bought
I'm
clothes.
really jealous.
So it was quite nice to go and go, oh, and then you paid a shoes for half price and everything.
You've gone live, Carl, and if you were shushing, everybody's heard you.
Shh, everybody. Sheesh. Ajarweeshed. I haven't bought clothes today on the black market. No, I actually haven't. That's
Oh, right. Good evening, both of you. Thank you again. Another Creative Connections Live. We've got Emma Cawston today with Karl, and Emma is a fantastic, fantastic artist. Love her work. Love the horse you sent the other day, and I was saying to my husband, I wish I had more walls. Have you seen it, Karl? It's absolutely stunning. It's on the Instagram for today, but that's probably the best picture of that horse.
Is that the grey one?
Because you did the zebra, you did my zebra, kind of the horse and the zebra together in that post for advertising today. Is that right?
Yeah. It is absolutely amazing. Beautiful work, Emma. And you use pencils, don't you? That's your thing.
Yeah, everything, even all the stuff in the background, it's all coloured pencils. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's quite amazing. I mean, we've got a couple of artists who do use pencil, and I just cannot get my head around it. So, as I was growing up, art was always colouring in. It's really a new.
Yeah.
Used the pencils.
I've tried like a million different mediums, to be honest, but I just really like the pencils and stuff. Especially instead of paint, because if you've got a kid running around, the last thing you want is paint everywhere. It's just easier to get another pencil.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Over to yourself, Karl. I'll go on mute and I'll let you guys talk, and I'll just sit back and enjoy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pavna. It's really lovely to see everybody. Hello, everybody on Facebook who are watching. It's really nice to be back here again on another one of our Creative Connections. And just a kind of pre-warning, tonight is about mental health and working in business and being a business owner. So we always just kind of say, just, you know, what you hear is usually from people's hearts. People, I mean, there's two of us, but you know, it comes from our hearts, and some things could be triggering. So just be very careful whilst you're listening and be really aware of that. So Emma, the very talented Emma, it's so lovely to have you here this evening and to get this chance to talk to you about your creativity, but also about your mental health journey and how things have gone. And from our conversation yesterday, this last year, OMG.
Been a bit crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, you're here, so thank goodness for that. But wow, what a year you've been in. You might touch on some of that, but let's just get ourselves started, if you're all right. And we'll go to our first question. So our question is, our theme is mental health or mental well-being and being a creative. And what is your specific journey surrounding your mental well-being and your creativity?
I guess it's kind of like a big question for an overall sort of picture. But I wouldn't say like it's something I dealt with at the very beginning, because when I started doing it, it was just mainly something I was enjoying doing. I wasn't thinking of it as a business. I was just thinking it as something for myself. Although at the time I did start it, it was because I was living with my brother abroad and I just needed a bit of extra money. So I started doing it thinking, oh, I'll just do this, that and the other. But when it started like going into a proper business, trying to think about that, the thing I found the most difficult to start with is because when you hear someone you're gonna start working for yourself, it's great, and obviously I would be really happy for anyone to do what they wanted to do, that what they love anyway, properly. But what you hear is, oh, well, you get to choose your own hours and do your own thing. It doesn't really work like that. Like, if every company said that, it would never be run the same way, because you do choose your own hours in a sense, because you can choose what days you want to work, but you're not really just doing the one job that you love, are you? You're having to do your bookkeeping, you're going to have to think about networking, you have to think about how you're going to expose yourself, how you're going to do all your bits and pieces that you're going to do. What materials do you need? When do you need to buy them? What time frames do you give people? You have like 1,000 questions, I think, that go over and over in your head, and the amount of sleepless nights you get. I even do that these days, even if I get a commission, when I get a commission, sometimes I know what I'm already going to do, but then I still, at night, I'm thinking, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
Like, although I already know how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just almost overthinking, I guess, in a way, but you're sitting there and you think how much stuff goes on in the back office, and I think that's the stuff I felt more stressed with, because it was fairs as well. What do I need for fairs? What pitfalls? And over the years, like, you learn from, I guess, your own mistakes, and there's things that you wish you knew beforehand. And I think I would have been where I am today a good couple of years ago if I knew what I already knew now.
Do you
Do you know
think?
what I mean? In a sense, I think so, because I think I spent so many years trying to do all these different platforms and try all these different things out, and what I wish I learned from different fairs and fates and how to create different things without having to outsource too much. I think if I knew how to do that beforehand, I would have had a bit more of a step in the right direction. Like last year, I really got a knuckle down on a networking strategy that I thought was really, I wish I knew beforehand, because it's really worked for me now. And I think, I mean, I could say it could have been better a couple of years ago, but really, I would never know that, because
because
lifestyle changes, everybody has different changes, internet changes, you know.
Thing.
It could have been, if in my head I thought if I knew this I could have potentially done it, but then obviously you can't really backtrack, can you? You have to sort of just go with the flow at the time.
Yeah. I probably could be a bit further forward if I'd known these things, but I didn't know these things, so therefore I'm really pleased that I've learned them now. And in 3 years' time, what will we learn that will make us go, God, if I'd done that, I'd have been a bit earlier? And actually, the reality is, it matters, but it doesn't matter because you've learned it. So you've learned what you have.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
to learn it.
Yeah, it's a milestone at the end of the day. You can't just jump milestones. Obviously, you have to just get there when you can get there. But
we want to, and we do. You know, we're desperate to jump these milestones and be there and be there. But actually, here is really, really, really important as well, because being you can nurture where there is going to go. So
yeah, exactly. I mean,
time to nurture it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're definitely right there. Because obviously you learn a lot during that time as well.
Yeah.
And I think obviously in this day and age, everyone wants something straight away. They want it now. They want it instant. And I think we already have that in our head now. So like, you know, some pieces I'm like, oh, I wish I could do the next piece now. And I want to do the next.
Totally. And it's like having the attention span of a gnat. You know, that's what I have sometimes. You know, I'm not even that long, to tell you the truth. That's where you're doing disservice to gnats, really. You know, I'm desperate. You know, I've got this idea and it's there, but actually, here's another one and here's another one. And I've just sketched 2 more ahead of what I'm actually doing just now, which is, you know, a few commissions I've got to get finished. And actually, you know, sometimes I'm just like, no, chill with the paper. I'll take a wee step back, because this is where mistakes start to happen, or you make a mistake, or it gets overdrawn or underdrawn, and then when you go to stitch it, you totally mess it up, and you have to redo it again. And what was going to pay you fairly well is now going to pay you really, really, really badly, and it's only yourself to blame. So
I've made that before. I've started a commission, or I've started a side piece that I really, really wanted to do. And then I go, actually, I really want to start this, and I start something else. And then lo and behold, you never actually finish what you wanted to finish in the first place, because you've already jumped ahead. So I always have to do that now. And that was one mistake I used to make over and over and over again. So then, I've got sketchbooks of stuff, and I'm like, well, that's not my style anymore, so I'm not going to bother with that. It's just, you change it all the time. But I think one big thing, which I felt like I dealt with a lot at the beginning as well, not near the beginning, sorry, more like in the middle, when I wanted to know where I was going, is I was actually judging myself from what others were doing. So I was constantly looking through different profiles going, well, they've got these many people on theirs, they're doing this, they're doing that, why can't I do this, why can't I do that, why am I not in that fair, why am I not doing this? Do you know what? And it actually makes you emotionally stick, because you're thinking, well, what am I doing wrong? Am I any good? Like, you actually start then really tackling with yourself, because then you're trying to be someone that actually you're not them. You're yourself.
Looking at being somebody else.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
And they may have already gone through what you're going through now, because they may have started it before
and
you.
they're looking at somebody else on their profile who's at somewhere else from them and going, oh, I'm not good enough. How do I get to them? How do I get to them? And it's just like, it's a narrative that's just so unhealthy. And actually where you are right now at this right at this time is
but then obviously your journey is also probably something similar to what they've already gone through. Yeah, so they may have gone through a lot of stress to get to that point, and obviously everyone's different. They may not have, but I think you wish you could almost be somebody else at the time of your business, but really it's not about that.
No.
Like, you lose the passion then, because then your motivation is not what you want, but it's what someone else has, and it doesn't work that way.
It's creative driven. It's not creative driven. It's driven by being like everybody else, and that's a really dangerous place to go to.
Yeah, but then it doesn't make you original then either, does it?
I think back to when I worked in education and I worked as a teacher, and I was desperate for promotion and desperate for promotion. Then, within 6 months of going into a new job, I applied for promotion and nearly got the job. Was at the top of the list, but I just didn't have enough experience. But would have got it if this person that had the experience hadn't had that experience. And I remember being really crushed at the time, but really pleased with myself, but going, this is where I want to go. And then I spent about 5 or 6 years absolutely fluffing it up left, right, and centre, and never, ever being able to get it, but really hungry. Why am I not there? Why are they there? And why am I not there? And it was all about this narrative about being them. And it was just like, this is not being you.
It's a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah, it took to getting the job, to getting one of those jobs permanently, and for it to fall apart in a rather spectacular fashion for me to go, oh, hang on, I never wanted this in the first place. I'm doing this because I thought this is what I had to do.
Yeah.
But actually, by doing it, I've made myself even more ill than I was before.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to look at other people if you're looking for a little bit of a motivational thing, or even just like little hints and tips going, actually, this is where I want to be. How can I get there? What can I look at as an inspirational point of view, but not overtake my actual initial thing? This is how I want to see myself, but this is not how I want to be exactly like, but I want to be in this position.
Yeah. How do I do it authentically? And I think that's one of the biggest things. I was looking at the March Meet the Maker kind of like prompts today, and I don't, I start it and very rarely finish it. I don't know if I'll finish it. I'm kind of not bothered if I'll finish it or not. I'm quite enjoying the process that I'm doing just now, and I'll do it for as long as I need to, as long as I can do. And today was about what was it? Learning curve, and I was just talking about authenticity. I realised that I don't need to do it the same as everybody else. I don't need to follow formulas like everybody else.
It's a guideline more than,
yeah. I just need to be really authentic in what it is that I'm doing and what I'm talking about. And that seems to, for me, results in people, talking and wanting to stuff like that. So yeah, but you're right. I have many people that I look at on Instagram and on Facebook who I think, aren't they bloody marvellous? And I hope that I can get myself to the stages that they're at some stage. But I also realise I want to do it on my own.
Yeah, it has to be a snap thought and not a constant overthinking process. Otherwise, you'll just sort of lose yourself, and then you'll stress yourself out, and then you just don't get in the right headspace, and then you don't have that drive again because you already sort of put yourself as a failure in your head, which obviously is the worst thing to do. And I went through this stage a couple of times actually, and to the point I was actually like, do you know what, I'm stressing too much about how to get this, how to get that, like different commissions, why can't I grasp certain things? And I went through this a couple of years ago, and I ended up going, actually, maybe I should work part-time and then do this in part-time so I can relieve some of the pressure. But actually, I found that my business was actually going down because the time frame I put into it was less. So obviously, on top of a 2-year-old, it doesn't really bode well.
That's where I'm at with my art and with my music teaching, and both are an integral part of my creative. And I call myself Karl Macrae creative because there's a lot in it. But I'm doing composition and all of these different things. There's a lot of stuff that I'm doing, but I'm at that kind of pivotal moment where the education side of things is what keeps me going financially.
Yeah.
And I know that is a very necessary part of my creativity, but it is also getting in the way a little bit of how I expand my art, or how I expand my own musical creativity, which is to be performing and to be writing music and to be doing my art and stuff like that. So
there's a realistic aspect to it. Yeah.
So I'm at that point where I've got to look at it and go, is this, how am I going to do this? And I don't want to get rid of any of my pupils. I don't want to be going, I need to get rid of them, and I need to get rid of them. It's not at all what I need to be doing. But what I am doing is that I'm going to try and go do it on having the balls to go natural wastage. So as pupils leave, because they go off and do other stuff, I don't replace them. I go, right, that
filter through
waste with more, social networking and and doing all of these things to punch, to put out my other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like before I went full time, I think I did so many different jobs, like all the time, like little jobs. This was before a child, though, by the way, so it's slightly different. But before I went full time, I think I just constantly did these other jobs, and I had obviously a bit more time in the evenings to do bits and pieces. But you have to almost like slowly filter down the hours, because you want to sort of balance it out before then you can go off and do what you need to do.
I don't fully want to be one thing or another. I'm not sitting here going, I need to be a full-time artist.
Yeah.
I just want to be a full-time creative, and I am being that in the current setup. But it would be nice to do it with maybe a little less teaching in the long run. Long run, I think it would be nice to not, because I've done education now for 20 odd years. So it would be nice to maybe not do quite as much that, or for that to go in a different direction that gives me a different meaning. So whether that means doing a little bit more consultancy work or whatever. I just know that there's a need for a change in that field for me. I'll probably come back to it in 5 or 10 years' time, because I'll have
you never know.
Well, I'll have learned so much more about myself. I'll have learned so much more about creativity processes, that I could bring a fresh eye to how I would go about teaching again in the future. And it's just about being completely open and honest with yourself. And pigeonholing yourself and going, I must be this because that person is this. You must be you because you are you. And you need to do what you need to do to make it work for you.
I think
about it.
Business is it, especially if you're starting your own business and stuff like that as well. Like there's so many more things to think about than that, that one thing that constantly drives you insane. It's just literally, I think, things that add more stresses. There are always new things that you have to overcome. So how do you do bookkeeping? How do you do this? You're learning all these different techniques as well, and they're all added pressures because it's something new that you wouldn't necessarily initially want to do, but it's part of it.
Yeah, it has. You have no choice.
No, you don't have a choice because it doesn't work any other way.
It has to be part of it. And if you're lucky enough that you can pass that on to somebody else, you can outsource that eventually, then that is what you do.
Yeah, like I finally got to get rid of my bookkeeping to an accountant last year. And do you know what? Because I deal with coloured pencils. I don't deal with academical stuff. Okay, this is not what I want to do. So I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to see if it relieves a bit of weight, because every year, if I have to sit down and look at any tax or anything, I'm thinking, why word it in a way that I
don't understand.
Oh, they're just ridiculously worded. And it's like, just ask me what goes in and what comes out, and just I'll let you know. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it needs to be simple. Otherwise there's questions about things. I don't need to know about a line in a document. I just want to tell you what I get in and what I get out.
Submit your tax return in terms of what's come in, what's gone out, and that's it. You can.
Yeah, I purposely think they do it on purpose, but they literally write questions like you're from a law firm, and I'm thinking, well, you're not, are you? You just want to let them know that you're making some money.
Basically, don't want us to be not paying tax, and when you're self-employed, you're ensuring that that you are paying as little tax as you possibly can, because you suddenly become aware of what tax you have to pay.
They just make questions, and I was like, I'm not even answering these anymore. I'm just going to get someone to do it because I'm not dealing with them anymore.
Itchy back. Sorry, excuse me, itchy back, everybody. I need to.
I'm like, here's £30. You do my tax return. I'm done. I'm not dealing with it.
I know. Right, I think that's probably answered question 2. I think we probably answered question 1 and question 2 in that one. So let's go to question 3, because we will run out of time. What advice would you give to someone who's in the same position but hasn't quite released themselves to allow their business to flourish and grow, no matter how small? And I think that's the really important thing, no matter how small that growth is.
I think it doesn't matter how small a piece of growth is. Growth is growth. At the end of the day, you're not in the same position. You're actually still ahead. It doesn't matter if it's a tiny wee bit or a big bit. It makes no difference. You're still in the right direction.
I agree. If you're starting with nothing and you manage to get something, then you're already winning. Sure.
I mean, I started with literally nothing in my back pocket. Like, I started myself, and it all started doing small things, and then getting that small thing to invest in something else, and then do it again, and then invest in more. And that's how it works. But you know what? It doesn't just work as easy as that. I would say to somebody, if they're wanting to go into the same sort of industry, or they want to go into their own industry or anything, start their own business, it doesn't matter what it is. I think I would say, like, don't get like sort of drawn back by a bad day, because I find that that's probably one thing that can really tackle someone's motivation. Like, I could have a fantastic week, but if one bad day, whether it's a child that's just not decided to let me have my day or anything that can turn you around, and you think, how are you going to get this done in a week? And it actually then goes, your motivation's gone. Yeah. But I always say, do you know what? If that's the situation, I would step back, take an hour, take the day if you have to, and just like relax, be yourself, and just remember why you started it in the first place. Like, when I first started it started for a completely different reason, because I wanted to do it. Yeah. Now I have a bit more of a motivation because I get to stay at home with my child at the same time, and it develops in a different way, and things change all the time. And I think you can get down, you can get all these second thoughts in your head, because not everyone's obviously the same, but I've had so many second thoughts in my head over the years, thinking, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? But do you know what? Yeah, there's a reason why you started it in the first place. Sit back and just remember why you actually wanted to do it. Yeah. Is there a specific reason why you wanted to do it? Is it just something you love? Or, is there something where you want to see yourself? Yeah. There's a goal in your head of why you wanted to do it in the first place. And I think sometimes it's good just to have that printed out, and just stuck on somewhere you see it all the time. And if you have to reiterate yourself, just do it, just constantly read it. I used to, the first time I started it, I had all these different motivational quotes on my wall, and every time I had a bad day, I'd sit there and pick one, and I'd go, right, what does that say? So sometimes I think you always have that, like, little doubt, but like I said, a bad day, it's just a bad day. Yeah. There's plenty of good days.
Just in anything you do, you go into a job.
It's okay to have.
I know I've had way more bad days in my actual paid job than I ever had, and than I ever have now as a self-employed person.
Oh yeah.
I would say at least 4 or 5 times the amount of bad days that I have as self-employed did I have when I worked in school, and that was purely to do with the fact that I was no longer motivated and no longer passionate about the space that I was working in and the people that I was working, not the people that I was working with, that's the system I was working with. That's what it was. I just couldn't do it. So
I remember I saw this one quote years ago, and it said something like, you can either chase your own dream or help someone else chase theirs. And I read that before, and I thought to myself, well, any companies at the forefront of someone who's, whether they've started the company or whether they've, you know, I'm not saying whoever's bought it because they may have got different morals, but anyone that's started a business or an owner of a business has had this exact moment at time when they've decided to start that business in the first place. Yes, they may outsource a lot now, but it's because they've hit a goal that they've actually wanted to achieve in the first place. So they've already gone through all these little loopholes that they wanted to, whether they've started with nothing in their pocket or whether they've already started with something in their pocket. They've still had to organise and sort all of that out. So you can either be the extra helping hand that they wanted, or you can be your own.
Yeah,
it's completely up to you, really, isn't it? But I think I've always liked that, because then I'm like, yeah, stop that. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm just going to.
I love doing my own thing. I mean, and some people I think see it as being selfish. Some people think, oh, you know, that's a really selfish thing to be doing your own thing and not working with others. But I work with others all the time, even though I'm doing my own.
Yeah.
I mean, this is working with others, you know, but I really enjoy my own thing, which is my own work, and shutting the door and turning off social media and turning off any kind of contact with the outside world, and just sitting and, you know, just doing and developing and making stuff on my own as well. There are different ways that we can go about doing it without actually having to necessarily work together, if you know what I mean. So you don't have a work colleague who's fighting and working towards the same kind of outcomes. You can be creative colleagues and hold each other and work with each other and hold each other up and talk about each other with kindness, with knowledge, with understanding. And if questions are asked, do the very best that you can to answer them. If you don't answer them, if you can't answer them, you say, I can't answer them. But you don't need to be in the pocket of the other people to make it work.
It's the same with customers, isn't it? You still develop this relationship with them at the end of the day. That is still part of the whole experience in the first place. You know, whether you're talking to them face to face at a fair or whether you're talking to them online, you still get to understand that person, even if it's just a little bit, and it's still part of their step, because you don't know why they're getting something, and then that creates a relationship in itself. So if you've given someone something positive for the day, whether they're paying for it or not, they're still happy with what they're getting. And I think, you know, that's not selfish. You're still giving them something to make them happy about it.
It's what they want. That is ultimately what a customer wants, or the majority, especially customers buying art. They're not buying art just for art's sake. They're not going out to buy it like food for consuming to eat and stuff like that. They're going because they want to have a connection with it, and they're going to pick it because there's a connection with it. And that connection doesn't often come on its own. So it often come from just, I've seen that picture and therefore I like it and that's it. It can happen, of course it can. But there is also a story to be had with the artist that you're buying that from. And then when you get that story and you get that linkage, it suddenly makes this thing far more precious and far more valuable and far more worth the money that they're going to pay for it. And I've met artists who have arted for the sake of art and selling, and who sell and sell and sell and sell, but I'm left cold. Even when they're massively talented, I can be left cold looking at the piece of art and know that I don't want to be anywhere near it, because I realize that it wasn't done from passion. It was done from, I have this ability, I'm just doing it now, I'm making that one because I know that's what people like, and that's what I've done, and now I've sold it. And I just can't purchase into that at all. I have no interest in it. I need to know that whatever it is that I'm doing is because I have a passion for it, and I love the look of it, and I love the fact that I got to play around with it, and it pushed my limits, and it pushed my ability to think about how I look at it, and how do I look at it, and what is the importance of it, and you know, there's so much more to the story. So do we have any questions?
Sorry, I was just saying it's 8:30, but let me quickly check if there are any. No, we don't seem to have any questions. I'll just check. There is a couple of comments, and I think we all feel the same for our businesses. when we look at the competition level and the type of activity, you have to focus on what you can control yourself and not worry about others. I think just back on Emma, what you were saying earlier, it is just so easy to get carried away, and
Yeah.
we all do it. We all do it. I do it every day. Even now, I mean, I constantly look and I think, oh my God, how could I do that differently, and why I'm not getting there. But it is finally getting comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah.
It was really great to speak, to hear both of you. It was really, really enjoyed it. I get the first-hand seat on this, so I quite enjoy listening in and just hearing different conversations. I think one question that I do have for you, Emma, I was just wondering was, just at the first question that Carl had asked, is creativity and mental health or mental wellness something that sort of resonates with you, or is that something, not, it doesn't have to be for everybody, but I missed that part if you said differently, but I was just curious to see if there was any story there or anything behind it.
As in, do I do this mainly for like my mental well-being? I think in a way, I guess so, because I enjoy what I do. I used to be in a job which, you used to get in different jobs and you used to go off with stress all the time because you just can't, it's just not something, not necessarily you're passionate about, but you feel like constantly battered behind by somebody else. And I think although obviously having a business and stuff like that has its stresses and has its issues with it, I think when I think about it, it's something I really love, and to be able to have something, to do something you really love, obviously being at home as well when I've got my son is less stressful because you don't have to do so much that way, because you don't have to give him to nursery so much and stuff like that. Is something I really wanted as well, like being able to do that gives me quite a lot of joy because they're only little for so long, I guess. So for me, that's really nice. But I really it gives me pride as well because I get to do something that I'm enjoying and it's mine and it's something that I have control of, and I like to be in a bit more control. So I just like, yeah, I guess it does. There's commissions that can give you a little bit of like, oh, what am I doing here? But like I said, you just step back, you take a minute, refresh yourself, and remember, like, and I do actually really love what I do, so I can't really ask for more than that. Like, from a lifestyle point of view, from being, is a general life, you only get one. So to be able to do something I really love and to be happy with it and to be really proud of it, I feel like I've really gained what I wanted in my life for that. It's great. So I'm really happy with it.
It's amazing. Yeah, no, not every mental wellness conversation needs to have a story, really a gruesome story. It's I think, as you said, it's something that you love and you enjoy, and we've all been there in those jobs that we didn't want and didn't enjoy, but were there because we thought we had to do that because that's what was needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I think you're incredibly lucky, and Carl, yourself, you're incredibly lucky as well, because you found your passion, you found your own place and your own sort of, where you've sort of homed in, and you like where you are. And I think if somebody has to take something away from this conversation today, I think that's the big thing. We have to have the courage to pursue our dreams, and sometimes it's not easy, but with single-minded dedication and focus,
sometimes it can be the only thing that you're left with, and that's where I found myself in 2013. I was left with, it's this or I'm not going to be here for much longer. That my journey was so difficult at the time. I was prepared to just finish it all, or the worst thing that can happen is to go, or I could just take this leap of faith and just try it. And I think as of 99% of the time, I think if people do that, it's amazing how it can work out.
Yeah, I mean, every now and again, it goes great. Obviously, there's sometimes things just get in the way in your personal lives that can really take its toll on everything. With everything, it doesn't matter how well things go. Sometimes things just get in the way.
Yep.
They do.
So trying to run it is as nice as it's been on your own. You realise actually, if something it does happen, like me and my son were really ill this year and last year, obviously dealing with a lot of being in hospitals and God knows what, left, right, and centre. We actually, the work's not going to get done because I'm the only one there. So, but as long as people are aware of this, current situations and things like that, then that's just the way life goes, unfortunately. But it's a private, personal thing. It's not mass produced. It's done individually, and it's done with obviously a lot of care. Whether it's a bad day, whether it's a good day, whether you've got something really bad going on, it's still yours at the end of the day. So,
I mean, having said that, your love and your passion, and that goes for both of you. It shows through your work, and both your work is just so individual and absolutely stunning. I can't stop saying how amazing, Emma, your work is, and I just, find it just absolutely, absolutely out of the world. It's absolutely amazing. But a lot of that, I feel, is work that comes with your love. Your passion shows through it. And Karl, same for yourself. I've never seen work like this before, and each piece has a story to tell and a piece of you that goes with it, and and that's what you get as a customer. And I think, sorry, I'm conscious of the time. I was just one more thing I was going to say. You were saying about if in hindsight you could have known and had this knowledge, you would have saved yourself a few years. And but I suppose hindsight is 2020, isn't it? It's always so easy to go back and look, and but realistically, and for us to grow as individuals, we need that stumbling blocks to learn from.
yeah.
Because if we didn't, we wouldn't grow. We will never push out towards out of our comfort zone. And while it adds time and maybe financial burden to our journey, but that's the right way to go. And I sort of echo your thoughts. The mistakes I made in the last year, I wish I hadn't. I'm a year down with the platform, and I've not been able to do what I'd hoped to have done by the end of last year. Hindsight's brilliant.
And
And
look at what you have done. I mean, look at what Artisanry has done that you didn't expect it to do.
well,
It might not come in financial recompense just now.
no, I
But,
promise you.
but for there's this thing, if you can do it now, you will bear the fruit. You will absolutely bear the fruit in the future if you can hold on.
I think it's like we were saying earlier. Sorry to interrupt. It's like we were saying earlier about we always expect things instantly these days, where it doesn't work that way at all. It just and it ruins the enjoyment, because then you know how far you've come from where you've started from as well. If it just happened instantly, there's not a lot of, I would say, even joy in it, because you've actually can sit back and go, I actually got through all of this by just perseverance and just.
My mum is not my biggest critic, because she's not, but my mum is the safest person in the world, as in, like, life should be played safe. You have a career in education, you're guaranteed a job, you've got guaranteed a pension, and all of these things. Absolutely, you should. That's where you should be. And as I've come away from all of that, every time she's gone, I can see the kind of like, oh my God, my son, what's he doing? He's a complete nutter. What's wrong with him? And she is more and more, the conversations that I have with her, she's just like, I'm astounded. I'm astounded. I'm really astounded. It's marvelous seeing what you're doing. And I'm like, That's a massive.
Wait to me.
The massive. That's a, if my mummy's saying that, then I've been a really good boy. You know what I mean? And it just feels really quite yes. And she's
Oh,
a lecturer now. She has quite.
probably a really good lean to as well, because they're really supportive or they're reassuring, and like I've been quite lucky with my family. They've always been quite they've always like pushed me to do better and pushed me and saying, it's a good thing, it's a really good, even if I have doubts in my head. Now, they're always constantly there as a support barrier. They're always like saying something good. And what obviously I love now is because my husband's got so into art since I've been doing it. He never used to be like that, but he is now. He's quite into it. He's like my worst critic sometimes. He's like, oh, hold on a minute. Because sometimes I'll go to him, oh, can you just double check something? Because I might be seeing something that I'm not seeing. And he'll come in and go, I'll just let you do this. I'm like, oh, right, okay. And it's like, he was like, well, hold on a minute. Well, I prefer this one. I'm like, okay. But it's a good thing because it's sort of like that extra little staff member, isn't it? It's like saying, oh, can you just double check something for me? Just in case I've been staring at it for 10 hours straight and I can't think about what I'm doing. But
I'd hate it. I'm glad I'm
do you know what? Sometimes I have to say, oh, do you mind? Because I really need your eyes on it. Like, I must have been working on something from like 8 o'clock yesterday morning to like 10 o'clock in the evening, like straight. Amount of coffees I had to go through, it was actually ridiculous. But I was sitting there, I was going, actually, can you just double check it? He's like, oh, that's fine. And I'm like, okay, but just needed to double check, just because I've had so many coffees. I'm like, Jerry, I need to make sure.
Buzzing.
And this one last thing I was going to also echo, what you talked about, having those quotations and sort of some feel good quotes and reading them. I do the same thing. There are days, when you feel you haven't really been able to achieve what you really set out to achieve, and you feel low. And I do the same thing. I've got a few things that I will go back to and sort of remind myself of what we've achieved rather than what I haven't. It's the tiny changes in the language, and it's tiny changes in how I see myself, or I see Artisanry as a company. And I think that's really important for people to take away as well, because I think in this particular line of work, there are too many ups and downs, and I think we have to just learn to ride those.
I do a very fresh start every day thing now. I manage to strip myself in the morning of any kind of fears for what's coming in that day and for what happened yesterday. I just go, well, yesterday was gone and today is a brand new day, and I might not know when I'm going to get up. I might wake up at 9 o'clock and not get out of bed till 10 o'clock, but I'm all right with that, and the day will be what it needs to be. And then I'm not disappointed by it, which is great. It's different things for different people, but for me it's the meditation, very much about the meditation of yesterday's gone, can't get it back. Today, I'm not worried.
I think obviously that's a really good way of looking at it. I mean, for like overthinkers, I think it's very difficult, because I got to say I'm definitely one of them. So I can sit there.
I'm a reformed.
About something that happened a year ago, and I'm thinking, well, why am I even thinking this? A blooming year ago, I have no idea why I'm even thinking of it. And sometimes, you know what? I think over time, when you start actually telling yourself constantly, like, this is in the past, ignore it, move on. Like, it gets easier and easier over time.
There are many 12-step programs, AA, NA. I think there should be one called Overthinkers Anonymous, because that is where I come from. I am absolutely fully certified overthinker, and I am part of a 12-step program that I go to, and it has taught me to strip myself off that guilt. So, and I never, ever thought that was going to be possible, because I really have only ever given myself a hard time, and I don't do it 95% of the time now. I just don't do it.
Really good.
I was just thinking, when you said the 12-step program, maybe Karl, we need to run that 12-step program on the community.
Maybe we have Artisanry overthinkers, not so anonymous. Let's do it publicly on
Yeah.
Facebook.
On that note, that's
I'm an overthinker.
I think we get plenty of it, and I think yeah, I think that'll be actually fun. I'll put something together in a few months' time, and we'll have a chat on
I
it.
think we should. I genuinely think it might be quite nice to have a groupage that's not live on Facebook. But
Yes.
if you want to be part of it, you have to join Artisanry. Cool. Well, that'd be because we're getting people in.
Yes, we will do that. I mean, I've been planning a networking event for a while now, so this can be the fun one.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
We'll try to do that. Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's been a lovely conversation. Speak soon. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.